Good morning. I'm back outside in the yard. It is so nice here today. We have a Carolina blue sky. I don't know exactly how to show you, but it's so beautiful. And so I decided to come out and work. And I have moved my growing pots. I will turn it around and show you. Hang on just a second. Okay, the pots that were once here, and I didn't have it on because I was struggling. They were too heavy. So y'all came out and helped me. I should have videoed that, but anyway, I've moved all that. I'm getting ready to till this, and it doesn't get enough sunshine. Tomatoes do great on this end. Hot peppers do great right in there. And this end is too shaded. So I'm going to look at Lowe's and see if I can find some plants that are shade plants. And by the way, this is Cora at From the Holler to the World. And I just can't let it go by without doing something outside. It's too beautiful. Last time I checked, the temperature was in the 50s, but I think it's coming up to the near 70 today. So I have moved. Our yard needs to be cut, which I do afternoon. I do the cutting. CL does the weed eating and the trimming and the hedging and blowing off. I like the mower because it's battery lightweight, and I just enjoy walking and doing it. So it's not a bad thing. This one's so empty. I'll probably put a tomato plant or something in there. And this is my red onions, and they're trying to come up. There are little bitty things, but they're trying. I have 2 baskets of those. And this is sweet peas. No, I don't know what that is. I put peas in here, but they haven't come up yet. And I don't know what that little plant is. If anybody knows what that is, leave it in the comments. It might be a weed, but since it was in a perfect straight line, I decided to keep it and see what it turns into. And this one is more peas. No, you know what? I'm wrong. That is carrots or radishes, and this one is zucchini. One is zucchini and one is radishes. Sorry, I changed my mind yesterday. These are my little green onions coming up, and I know they're probably too concentrated, but we don't let them get big. We eat them when they're small. And I'll probably keep a basket planted all the time so that we continually have them. And I may even weed those out a little bit. They're just now about the size that people plant them. And I have that empty tub down there, so I may go ahead and transplant some of these. They're pretty hardy. It's a nice plant to start if you're a beginner. Even if you don't eat them, you can give them away because they come up pretty quickly and you feel like you've accomplished a little something. And this is sweet peas. This tub and this tub are sweet peas straight out of the package. Actually, 3 tubs. I don't know my own garden. 3 tubs of sweet peas, because 1 tub we had like a half cup. It was nothing. So I decided to do a little bit more today. And this is just now coming up. These are peas I planted 2 weeks later, and I soaked them overnight. So I'm interested in knowing what the change will be. If it's worth soaking them overnight, or if it's okay to plant them straight out of the package. And I'm trying to have more flowers this year because you have to have flowers for the bees and the birds and the bees. But I'm trying against this fence because this gets the morning sun. I don't necessarily like how it looks, but if you want to grow food, you can't always have it as a decoration. You have to go ahead and bite the bullet. And my lilac bush is doing great. It's coming back. We still have some dead leaves, and I did not rake them up because they make good mulch. And that is a Jacob's ladder that I transplanted from a friend's house over in another town. I just took a little piece and put it in the ground out front, and it did so well, so I brought a piece back here. So that's kind of what's going on. And I haven't gotten to the yard yet. I may do that this afternoon. It's been too wet. We had all kinds of rain. I'm washing off my plastic that I had down as a ground cover. I didn't want to put my grow bags down on the ground because I didn't want them to rot. And so I stacked boards and put that plastic for the wintertime. And I decided to go ahead and put the grow bags on the ground. So I'll have to let you know how that works out. I'm experimenting with the grow bags. I just really don't want to till up my yard, and I want something to play with. I don't care about getting an abundance. But we have a farmer's market, but it's not real close by. So I just need a few things to taste and something to play with. Get out here. My mums are coming back doing great. I transplanted them from the front. And I fertilized my little pansies day before yesterday. So I'll keep an eye on this. I'm going to get some castle wall stones and put around it so it looks a little prettier after I weed eat. So I'll have a little up to date when I get that finished. You'll have to tune in. Write some comments if you're doing a garden. I check my comments. So just let me know you're out there and that you're enjoying my little attempt to bring back some of my farmer roots. Well, they weren't planted very deeply. They were in my mom and dad, my grandparents. Everybody had a garden in Kentucky. And they were all, raised them doing well. So I guess I've kind of decorated the fence, even though I didn't really want to, but that's how it goes. If you're going to do something, you have to do it where it works the best. See, I was in the garage working today on a guitar for Luke, and we've been taking some videos and pictures, and when it's finished, we're going to do a little montage of all his work. It's an old antique guitar that he's restoring, a parlor guitar, and we've been taking pictures, like I said, and videos all along. So we'll let you know how that turns out. And it's been a nice day so far, a really good day. And I want to turn you back around for a minute. You see me out here wind-frazzled and all, but I just wanted to talk for a minute and tell you about some of the experiences I had growing up in the farm. We were little girls, and Daddy had 4 little girls, and then they had 2 boys afterwards. And so it was quite something to get the girls out of the house. But some of our jobs in the summer was to walk along behind the plow. He would borrow a couple of mules from our neighbor. I think maybe one time we did have some horses, but he would borrow a couple of mules from our neighbor. Harry Boggs was his name. And they were called Bob and Bill, the mules. And so he would borrow them to plow the garden every now and then. And it was our job to walk along behind the plow and to pick up the big white grub worms. They were really, really big fat things. So we were supposed to carry along like a little bucket or something and pick up grub worms. They were good for fishing or feeding them to the chickens. And so part of our job as little girls was to walk along behind. They didn't bite or anything, but it was quite a harrowing experience if you were a little kid. I'll sit down a minute. And another one of our jobs was to go along when the beans came up and they were smaller or not really producing yet. We would have to go pick out the bugs off of the beans. And we'd take cardboard paper from cereal boxes because we didn't want to touch them, and put one piece of cardboard on the bottom, one piece of cardboard on the top, and squish the bugs. They didn't really want to use that much fertilizer. I guess we were organic even back then. We were trying to be more organic and healthy, and they didn't want to use a lot of fertilizer. Sometimes he would have to put 7 dusts on some plants, but ordinarily we just tried to let them be as natural as possible. And so we would go out and pick up the bugs, and we'd try to wear a tank top or swimming suit top and try to get a suntan and make it useful as possible, as teenage girls. That was our job. Not when we were little, but when we got to be teenagers. And then there was a big field. Like I said before, the way my house sat, there was a hill in front of me. There was like a field, a creek, and then a hill straight in front of me. And to my left, as I sat on the porch, there was a little creek and another hill. To my right, there was a field, and then there was a road, a holler that went to the Boggses, and then a hill. Behind me was our smokehouse, and we really did smoke meat in the smokehouse. And then there was a chicken house, there was a rabbit house, and on up farther was a barn, a big barn that we could play in the hayloft. And that's where sometimes we kept the cows, or where Mommy milked, or and we, sometimes we'd get a turn. And then on up above there was another hill. So I was surrounded, and I think that's part of where my name comes from the hills, or from the holler to the world, is that I would sit on that porch and read books in the summertime and just think and dream of all those places in the storybooks, England, and we read, it was from the county library, so they were really good books for kids. And we would read all those stories, and I would just dream of all those places I could travel and I could see one day, because I lived in the same house till I was 18 when I went to college. And I really never did return there except for summers. I got married after my second year of college, and moved to Maysville. So moved to the city and had an inside bathroom. So that was pretty cool. But my mom and dad did update the house and get a bathroom. And my mom started to work a little bit as a teacher's aide. And so they decided to build the bathroom inside after I went to college. And got a washer and dryer. But that'll be a story for another day. So I was telling how I got my name from the holler to the world, and I would just dream about it. And since that time, of course, one of the things that when CL and I first met, we would talk about travel and where we were going to live, and all these big dreams. But we've been married this year will be 56 years. Can you imagine? Let that sink in. 56 years, and it's been good. A little rocky in places, but overall really good. You got to have, the ship rocks every now and then. But we have traveled. We've been able to go to South Africa like 5 times, and I've been to Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. That was a trip. I've been to Cape Town and Johannesburg and Pretoria and Rustenburg and all kinds of places. And then we were able to go to India. We went to Mumbai, Chennai, Guntur City, and preached the gospel to all those different places and people. And I loved it. We have pictures, and one day, maybe I will dig out some pictures. It's been a few years, and show you some of our travels. We got to hold baby lions, and we walked with the big 5, they call it. You go to this reserve, and you have breakfast, and then you walk with the lion. And you go down to the watering hole, and there are, if I can remember all 5, there are lions, elephants, water buffalo, hippo, and maybe some kind of cat. I'll have to get out my thing, or you can look up the big 5 and put in the comments and let me know. It's been too long for me to remember. But we would walk with them and have a safari, had a horseback safari. There's all kinds of things, and if I find some pictures, I will tell you the stories that go with those. But I've been able to travel, and it fulfilled a desire that there's more out in the world than just where you're sitting. And if you just have courage and pray and ask the Lord to give you direction, you never know where you'll wind up. So the most important thing that we ever did was live totally and completely by trying to learn what the Lord was telling us, what he wanted in our life, how he wanted the direction of our life to go. And it has worked out for us. And we have now been in North Carolina this summer will be 18 years, which is totally unbelievable. That's as long as I even lived in my house in Kentucky. And so it's an adventure. Walking with the Lord is an adventure. Number one, you're saved, and you don't have any fear of going to hell. You know when you die exactly where you're going. And by accepting him as Savior, it has given us a whole world that we could only dream about. And serve him, and had 3 wonderful children, and now 6 grandchildren that are just awesome. A daughter-in-law that is just superior. And it is more than we could ever even dream or fathom. And so I will wind this up, because if it gets too long, you don't want to sit through it. But I have some more stories that I will eventually tell you. And I will go in the house and quit sweating. But you can't work outside and stay neat like if you were going to a wedding, which we just had. And it was fantastic. Our second in line grandson got married to Skylar and Michaela, and it was wonderful. Such a blessing. They're just precious, precious kids. And so we were happy and excited about that. But sometimes you just got to get your hands dirty. You got to get outside. You got to feel the air. You got to just look at what God's created. And it raises your spirits. It raises your heart. It helps take away any kind of depression or sadness. It helps to soothe that. Get your hands in the dirt. Just grow a little pot of flowers, You don't have to have much room. And you can get them at anywhere, Walmart or something to take care of. And, they say before you ever have a family, you need to take care of a flower and a dog to see if you can do it. But most of us, we had the kids before we ever had a chance to have the flowers. But growing up, I always liked to be out in the yard. And I always liked to be messing around with something outside. I always spent a lot of time outside. And so I'm going to let you go for today. I see some bees flying around, and I'm hoping that I have a lot more honeybees this year to pollinate, or pollinating bees, whatever kind they are. So I planted a few more flowers, but I will get back with you. And don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. And I'm going to tell some more stories from the holler. And then I will get to telling some more stories of the world. And just hang with me, share it, and share it with your friends. And I hope you enjoy them. Leave me a comment if you like it. Some of you have, and I enjoy reading them. And I will answer you when I can. And I'm going to get back to work now. I'm finished sweating. I may have some tea. And I will talk with you later. God bless you. Bye-bye.